I'm working on a 2002 Lexus ES300 today. It has a coolant leak, so it has lost coolant over time, and that's why I hear it, because it overheated. I'm going to show you where I found that the coolant was leaking from once I pressure tested, but it was definitely under the intake. There's a pipe under there, a rubber pipe, like right over there. It's a rubber hose right there. I'm going to show you that. And then right here by the thermostat, there's a leak over here at one of the corners. I'm going to show you that also, and we'll go from there. I'm just going to show you what that looked like when I pull everything down. I never had to replace those before, so when I pull that lower intake off, then I'll see the hose length and what I need to do. I'm definitely putting hose clamps on there. I'm not putting those factory clamps back on there because it's just too expensive to chance those hose clamps, and they don't have the same clamping forces they did when they were new. I got my homemade pressure testing device here, which is the air regulator with a gauge hooked up to it, and I'll be able to add as much air as I need to. Gauge only go to 10 psi at the moment, because I just had a old Harbor Freight vacuum and pressure tester. So let's do that. You gotta have a good radiator cap for this to work, so. I can hear it coming out now. There we go. You see that little crevice down there. There's a little spot. And then, let me see if I pull the air box off. It's tucked back there, but you can see it foaming. So all that's going to get replaced. I can see it back there foaming up. All right, we're gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna take off this strut bar. Go on the top here, look like it's 14 millimeter. And then we'll work on pulling off the intake, the connectors, anything I see. There's some 10 millimeter nuts back here. I can pull those off, pull some of the connectors off. Anything I see that I need to. And then I'll start, once I get this bracket off with the solenoid, this bracket for the solenoid, then I'll be able to take the intake off. I don't think there's any brackets in the back because this vehicle was brought pre-owned. Somebody already been through it before, and so it should just come straight off. Same for the other side. Oh, this is different. The bracket for the solenoid should be some 10s. connectors. There's no coolant in here, so I'm gonna pull this off, these hoses. Otherwise, I probably would have likely left them on. Put these in nuts off here. These never come out. This is a H8. I want to say. So I always usually gotta. This one. I guess it's bittersweet if somebody else done already been through it. I gotta get that vacuum line off. Something else is back here, the PCV. Get that off. Somebody else can make it a lot easier for you. I need to replace those gaskets because they're smashed, so I'll call and get those replaced. Here's our lower intake. So we need to pull off the injectors. I'm not going to pull out the injectors, but I do believe I might be able to pull off the lower portion and just slide it up, but I still got to get clearance to work around there, so I might just pull the whole thing off. Let's see a 10. Took off a ground strap up there, so I don't know if you saw that or not. I'm just gonna zip those bolts out for the lower part of it and see what kind of room I got when it comes to those hoses. I just rather not disturb these if I don't need to. It's 12 millimeter. Just move this to the side. Call on something. I can flip this upside down if I need to. Lay it off to the side here like that. These screws will come out. These are two different sizes. I'm going to show you those shortly. So the long ones go to the inside of the intake, and the shorter ones go on the outside here. So these are long ones, the short ones. Short ones out here, long ones on the inside. We're just being lazy. I probably could just flip around where the camera is. I'll probably just do that. I still need to get down there, so I really just should just take everything off or just maneuver it as needed. They'll replace this lower intake gasket. I'll have to pull this fill neck off, which is just some additional, look like 12 millimeter bolts here. Pull those off. And then I'll be able to take the lower intake gaskets out. There's some, look like there's some coolant residual down here that's been leaking for a while. See the trail. And again, I'm going to replace that thermostat. So yeah, I was trying to figure out which I did a video a while ago replacing the thermostat. It wasn't this car, it was another one. It's a relative of mine. That's the Lexus they had. I never had to do these lower intake gaskets. I never had to. It was my first time actually, so I didn't know I would have to pull this off. But I did charge as if I was doing a knock sensor, and there's the knock sensor right there. So you have to pull this hose off if you want to get to it. Maybe you can get a wrench down there and at an angle and pull it off if you need to replace the knock sensor. So there's that. And all right, let's pull this off, this fill neck, pull the thermostat out, and we'll make a run to the parts store, match that hose up and stuff. Got this. Ain't it bright? I'm going to pull it off and probably have to clear that with them studs right there. So I got to pull this mount off. And 14. Okay. That's fine. Strong. You probably didn't see every single thing, but I was just pulling this one out here. This is the whole thing. Apologies. So we can lift this up and clear. Oh shit. Oh man. See, this is why we put the rags in there, so this wouldn't accidentally fall in there and we'd be paying for a motor. It's supposed to be like that. Oh, see, I'm not observant. There's two knock sensors down here. I didn't even see it. You'll get a aerial view of it. Y'all not going back in there, so I'm not putting these hose clamps back in here. We got trust issues. Can I get this in there? Nope. There's both of the knock sensors. Bank 1, bank 2. Why is bank 1? Because number 1 cylinder is the closest to the timing belt. Here's the trail it was leaking from. Pop These gaskets are expensive. These things are $80 something for a set. This is coming from O'Reilly, so I'm replacing. They come with the lower and the upper, from what I understand. So those are getting replaced. Push those down there. Just need a, oh shit. Drop some paper towel in that coolant. I think we'll be fine. All right, I'm feeling a bit guilty here that I'm like pulling stuff off, and this supposed to be a repair video. I got the thermostat out. I literally only took out 3 additional nuts and 1 bolt. It's 12 millimeter and 10 millimeter. So that 1 bolt at 12 millimeter went here. That connect to the bracket of the upper radiator hose. And then I just took the 3 nuts that went around the thermostat housing down there. Get a good view. That's 1, 2. You can see the other one down at the bottom. It's down there somewhere. It's 3 right there at the bottom. So I got those out. Walk the thermostat out from the top. And I'm about to install it. Here's the new thermostat. Here's the old one. The old one is very hard. The gasket is very hard and nearly brittle, but it's just solid. There's no give to it. So they're both motor rad, I want to say. Yeah, motor rad, and this is the one that was already in there was a motor rad with the gasket fail. So I'm going to install this with the little bulb, the bleeder sitting up at the top there. You can't install this. You can't install this backwards, I'd assume. I don't want to find out. Look like, well, feel like you can. But it goes in there like this. The hot side of the engine block will cause the thermostat to open up. This valve will open once this spring collapses and let in cool water. Sure, my valve is at the top. Sits real good in there too. Oh yeah, sits great. Put this back. Putting that 1 screw in down here just to get it started. If I can achieve this with 1 hand. There you go. It's like right there. You can see it. That joker right there. For those of you who care so much, this is the part number for the intake manifold gasket set. It comes with the lower plenum and some other gaskets. I'm not sure. I didn't take anything off that resembled this one here, but I guess if I went a little bit more deeper, I would have been able to use a lot more of these. But that's the thermostat, if anybody cares, 4078. It's aftermarket. People have their perception on it. So what we're going to do is get the lower intake gaskets installed. That right there. So these are the standard ones. These are the aftermarket ones, obviously the new looking one. This one feels like it got metal in it. So the factory ones have steel in it. These aftermarket ones also has a metal in it, a shim. They just feel a lot thinner, but I'm pretty sure they're going to serve their purpose. Wait a minute. What's going on here? Make sure I'm going in the appropriate direction. So this goes this way. Oh, screwing up everything. Come on, we did this in school. Shape fitment. There you go. Put this. Oh shoot. So let's get our hose in there. So, oh yeah, let me show you the hose. And this joker seemed like this is a direct fit that I got from O'Reilly's. This is the part number 12148, and it looked like it fits perfect. I thought I was gonna go and match one up, but this match was like the perfect match for it. So we're gonna put Ennis gates too. So this is one of my favorite brands. All right, tell you what I'm gonna do. If this fits on here good, I'm gonna leave these factory hose clamps only because I don't have any more of these clamps to fit. I do, but I have to make some modifications to them and cut them short. So let me see what happens. I'm gonna put a little bit of dielectric grease on here so we don't go in dry. Perfect. Yeah, I think we'll be fine. And I looked around the store for one, and I'm like, oh shit, this is like perfect. Absolutely perfect. So we got that. Put a little bit of dielectric grease on this side here. Just a little bit, nothing crazy. And I need to put something, oh yeah, the hose clamp. Toyota's like awesome, man. They have their flaws, but for the most part, I can't complain. This job is going a little smooth than what I would normally feel comfortable with. Things that normally go smooth ain't right. They don't work out right. I'm gonna be a pessimist today. All right. a little nervous about these washers, but they were stuck to each other. I lost one. I normally forget something. So all these are different. Yeah, these are different lengths. Remember where everything goes. So we got to put the ground straps up top there. Feel some of the wiper blade. So this ground goes there with this. This goes here. All right. All are correct. That goes there. All right. Straps. Get the head back, the intake manifold back on. After this, I'm just gonna jump to starting the vehicle because I mean we've done the major stuff already. We got the lower end, we pulled everything off. Got the lower intake manifold. Oh shit. Got the lower intake manifold off. We changed thermostat. We got the hose on here. Got the part numbers for all that. And everything seems nice and tight. It's pretty much, you know, put everything back in reverse order. So I'll be back once I get everything put back together, and we'll see that first startup, assuming that nothing fell down in here, and I'm paying for a motor. You've obviously want to remember the long ones. long bolts go on the inside and the short ones go on the outside. I'll tighten this up in the X pattern. I got everything knocked out. I'm just adding some pressure right at the moment. The set was around at 10 psi, but my gauge is leaking a little bit. So, but mainly I was listening around in the same areas, making sure I didn't hear any air whizzing or anything. But it's kind of hard to hear over the air that's kind of coming out of here. It had to be pretty quiet in here and outside. I had to close the garage door and fish forward. This leak has its moments. But anyway, everything seems to be perfectly fine. I'm just getting the air box in there now, getting some things buttoned up, and we'll go do our first start and see how it runs, which should be perfectly fine. I didn't drop anything in there, and I'm losing my train of thought for a minute. Those vacuum lines. So everything's knocked out. Everything's put back together, and I got the coolant somewhat topped off. It's not all the way, but I did have enough in there to lubricate that water pump, so it's filled up to the brim without getting any air pockets out. So we're gonna do the first startup. And I don't know if I said at the beginning, but it did have like a sound of like low compression on one cylinder, and it did have a misfire. So I hate to say it, but it really seemed like it might be a blown head gasket, because it misfires. You hear sound of it misfires in conjunction with the sound of low compression, which is usually an indication that it has a mildly blown head gasket. Sometimes it can kind of temporarily repair itself, but it is worn, because I know she ran it pretty hot. The car had to get towed here. Ain't no telling how long it's been leaking and running hot. So I did check the oil level. I mean, it wasn't any milkshake substance in there. So, but head gaskets do blow in multiple ways. All right, let's start it up, and like I said, just listen to the compression. You'll hear like it has like a low, like a drop in one of the cylinders. Does have a faint misfire. I'm gonna let it clear up a second. That's why I shut it down and then started back up. I was hoping you could still hear the drop in the cylinder pressure. Looks like it's clearing up now. This is my first time starting up with actual radiator fluid in there, so I'm not sure how I was gonna take. Just like that 87 Nissan, I mean, that thing was smoking like crazy, and I gotta do head gaskets on it. Ran perfectly fine. Just when it got hot, it acted stupid. So there you go, it cleared up. Maybe it's me, but I mean, I can hear it drop in the cylinder. Let me let it do its thing, let it warm up, and I'll be back after about 5 minutes. All right, we just got back on a test drive. Everything seemed to be working perfectly fine. It's not holding any pressure in the cooling system, so I mean, it's running very cool. So we got a new thermostat, new fluid. I think this radiator was replaced before, but then again, I was running the air conditioning. But there's no leaks. I can guarantee you that. You know what's funny is once the check engine light did come on, because it has some pre-existing codes in here, and one of them was the knock sensor on bank 1. It's crazy. But everything's working perfectly fine. We took care of the leaks. I did a pressure test, saw where the leaks were coming from. I didn't know exactly how to quote that hose, but I did the knock sensor was down under there in the valley there. Just quoted for a knock sensor. and just some additional for the thermostat, but it wasn't bad to replace. And if I recall properly, the book time was on it was like 2.5 to 3 hours, I want to say. And I'm like, you can do that well within that time. But it was definitely like 2.5 or 3 for the knock sensor. So, but if anything happened, I'll definitely update. But other than that, I'm going to hit the link. So hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, have that reassurance of my work. And I'll see you next one.